Thank Christ this episode was so much better than the last one. Hello everybody, my name is MeisterBloo, and I just took a look at the 7th episode of The Fruit of Grisaia, which came out this past Sunday. Unfortunately, I was not able to watch it as it was released, and do a video on it because I was out of town this last whole weekend, and just I could have watched it and recorded a video on my phone, but I didn't want to not have access to my editing and everything. So my apologies that this one is a little late. In this episode we got to look at the character Sachi, who is the girl who has always been dressed up as a maid and doing pretty much whatever anybody asks her to do. We got to find out about her and her backstory, and honestly, this is good. This was a good one-part episode giving us this character's information. Unlike the previous episode, which tried and did a god-awful job at doing the exact same thing. That's not to say that this episode was particularly perfect. It really wasn't. There was a lot of things I found actually personally wrong with it, including some of the pacing just didn't work. That got a little awkward. There were moments that honestly did not need to be in the show at all, just popping up in there, which confused me a little bit, but all in all, much better than the last episode. Still not as good as the Michiru two-part backstory plot, but again, that one had 2 parts to dedicate to it, so maybe that's a little biased on there. The main thing we find out about this is that Sachi and Yuji, the main guy, have known each other. They've met before, and they handle that in a very, very realistic way. It's like they met as kids at a playground, and even though he forgot and he just forgot the entire situation, eventually it comes back to him and he remembers. And when I was watching this, it felt like a real thing, because I've had that situation where, like, if you're a kid, you're playing somewhere, like in a public place, like a playground or a park or anything, and you meet somebody there, and you only know that person for like one day, but because you had so much fun, you always remember that person, even though you don't remember their name or even really what they look like. You remember that experience, and this show handled that pretty well, I honestly think. There's this whole weird side situation where Michiru says she hates tests and asks Sachi if she can get rid of tests, and Sachi tries to by somehow thinking, okay, the way to get rid of tests is to blow up the school. And it's really weird. That was all to get us. All of this seemed kind of pointless, because the entire thing of her going through this, like half of the episode really, it took about half of the episode for her to get through this whole thing of trying to blow up the school. That was only so that her and Yuji could have a small moment. There could have been so many better ways that this came about, but I do know that this is following a visual novel that was made, so you can't really change the source material too much if you're trying to do that. So far, what I've heard is that they aren't changing too much. They're just kind of like shortening everything from the visual novel into the episodes, which is what you have to do if you don't want the show to run on for episodes and episodes and episodes, or if you don't have the budget to do that. But honestly, it didn't feel right. It didn't feel like this should happen. There's so many other better things that could have happened just to get these two characters in one room with each other to have this moment. There's so many other better things they could have done. We get the backstory of Sachi, which is actually very, very nice. I like the backstory of her. She has the situation where she was really good with her parents and everything, but they started having to work more, and so they got to spend less time with her, and eventually she grew to like hate that about them, that they were spending more time on their work. But then one day on her birthday, they try to say, okay, we took the entire day off, we're going to spend it all with you because we know that we have been kind of neglecting you for a little while, and we're sorry for that. And she's fed up, and so she gets angry and runs off, and what happens results in the death of her father and her mom being put in comatose for a very long time. And it's all her fault, and so she's gotten into this mindset where she has to be a good girl, and that's like an obsession that she's developed. Like everything anyone asks of her, she has to do, because she has to be a good girl, she has to listen. And that's what leads to her wanting to, like, fulfill Michiru's request by saying, yes, I will get rid of the tests. However, I like this episode a lot because this was very, very, very much a huge improvement from the last episode. Last episode flat out sucked. This one, while it wasn't great really, it's a step towards getting back to good. Because I honestly believe this show was really good during the Michiru two-part episodes and the previous episodes before that, I actually thought the show was doing really good. And then the last episode hit, and it just hit like a bus, and I'm glad to see that it's starting to climb back up. The ending of this was actually very, very similar to the ending of Michiru's plot, which I liked, because I like the idea that throughout each of these girls' stories it ends in a sort of happier resolution. You see the emotions in her, in Sachi, and you feel for her, and it's that concept of, you don't tell us this is how the character is, love this character for who she is, you show us who the character is, and we really do get to see Sachi and how her past has affected her, and from that you can develop whether or not you like her or not, and they really push for you to like her, which I do. I think she's a really cool character. That's all for now. I will see you all in 3 days, I think? Yes, 3 days when... Nope, 2 days, when I do the next episode's video, because it's coming out Sunday. This episode, of course, is open for viewing for anybody who has a Crunchyroll anime subscription or other subscription. You can watch it on Crunchyroll. I will, of course, have the links to the episodes in the description, as I always do, and if you don't have a subscription, it will be available to you all this upcoming Sunday, so keep on the lookout for that. If you like this video, please share it with all your friends. It really does me a great help if you guys can pass this on to people you think might enjoy this, or are people who are watching the show. And of course, if you guys have any thoughts, leave them in the comments section. I always respond to the comments, really. I do. I respond to most of the comments that are sent my way. If I don't respond to them, call me out on it and I'll comment back. We've got a Twitter, a Tumblr, a Hummingbird, and a Facebook page, all of which are in the description. Also, go onto the Geek Horizons site called GameGal.net, which is also in the description. That is where most of my stuff gets posted, along with stuff from my other friends who have actually been featured in other videos I've been recently putting out. So, if you want to see game reviews, movie reviews, TV reviews, just rants, anything like that, go to the Geek Horizons website. It's where we have all of our stuff going. And until next time, everybody, peace out.
Without it being as What was that? What was that? Guess who's correct? Once again, Trevor is the king of being correct.